Okay. Okay, so general comments, questions, all that kind of stuff?
Hey, my question.
Yeah.
So I was wondering if you can just touch base on us and just do a quick crash course on color theory, because
Ooh,
the
okay.
because when I was like working like I basically did the ship in chunks, and so
Yeah.
I'd watch like 20 minutes of your video and then like, okay, I
Yeah,
can
that's a
do
good
that.
way to do it.
And so as you were yeah. And so I was doing it. I was just asking myself, like, how did he choose, like, how did he know what colors to pair? When it comes to like the purple and then like the green on the lake. And so I was wondering if you could just touch base on that.
Okay, a lot of what I do, and I can't go too far down the rabbit hole on this because obviously it's not color theory, okay? But it's pretty simple to explain what I'm doing, and it's how I teach it in almost all my classes in relation to color theory. When I start with the mixing process, showing people how to do that, it's good to go take color theory and all that, so you understand all that. But then I think I've talked about this, but I had nobody kind of just showed me, and we probably had a little bit of this in one class. So I took a lot of color theory, but then I was sort of like over analyzing all my color when I went to be practical with color, like on location or doing an illustration or painting or something like that. But I say the best way to kind of start um, color mixing is complements. So if I've got a yellow, like in that case you're talking about, I wanted to break up the shape of the ship, so I put that sort of brassy, yellowy, and I'm kind of going, well, that could be brass or something. And I'm probably still going to knock it down a little bit or whatever. But the complement of yellow is violet or purple or whatever. So I can just glaze a little purple over that, and I'll start to gray it down. And I can do the same thing with red, green, blue, orange, and all complements are colors opposite each other in the color wheel, and they will cancel each other. So you can like darken a color and neutralize a color or both at the same time, okay? So what I'm doing in there, because I remember the same thing like you're talking about, where I'd look at things like that and I go, where the hell is he getting a purple from? Like, why is he putting a purple in there? And it's in that case, I'm neutralizing that yellow because I don't want it to be screaming all over the place. And then sometimes I'll go in and go, well, this hillside in the background is it's sort of neutrally. It's not really making a huge color thing, so I can kind of glaze a little blue over there because now I got a strong blue light up here, and it might just be that kind of common sensey thing, okay? And then you have to take into consideration, if you're painting opaquely, then you're putting a whole new color over it, and that's fine. Or if you're painting glazing, then you're putting a color over something to modify a color, okay? Which is more like
Okay.
watercolor, okay? So, if I have a lot, and even in digital, I might put down a real pretty hot green, and then like an acidic green, and then I'll cool it down. I could cool it down just with a little Viridian green, because Viridian is a cooler green. Or I can go in, with a neutral or just a darker value green or whatever of the same color, and just glaze over it and just darken it up. So it might just be a darkening thing. Most of the time you're neutralizing colors because you don't want all your colors screaming saturated. So you're usually knocking them down and pulling them back. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that does. That has a lot of clarity. Thank you.
I think the main thing one of the smartest things you can do is just go get a cheap little watercolor set and a cheap little sketchbook, watercolor sketchbook, and just a couple of brushes. You don't need a lot of brushes, and just go out and start learning just from life. Like look at that tree and go, okay, I'm going to try and mix this green. Well, greens are tricky, so it's not just a screaming hot green all the time. It might be a cool green, might be a warm one, might have a little warmth in it in the fall, all that kind of stuff. And then you start learning that stuff. And you don't have to make good paintings or whatever, like if you're a graphic designer or something, go out and just play around with maybe not even making a scene, just going, I'm going to try and mix that color and that color and that color. And mixing color, real color, liquid color is pure color. It's as close as you can get to just literally diving into color. There's nothing more real than paint, okay?
Yeah.
And that's how it's going to react, okay?
Okay.
And sometimes in Photoshop, I might use, and we're going to get into another brush here probably tomorrow. I might use that one, or I might even use the smudge brush, and I might put those colors together and smudge them out on a layer I call swatches, because sometimes in that color picker, That's not intuitive to me. I mean, because basically when I start to darken a color in the color picker, what that's doing, if you look at it, it's adding black and it's adding gray and things like that to my color, which that's not necessarily what I want. I want to mix color to color. So I want to mix pure color to pure color so I get vibrant color. So
Yeah.
I might just take a mixer or a smudge brush or something, throw those colors on there and kind of mix them and try and get that little really subtle gray or whatever it is I'm trying to get, because grays are not just gray. Like if you go to the gray palette, the grayscale palette in Photoshop, now you're just getting gray. You're getting, I mean, those are fine, but you don't want to deaden your color. So I want to try and mix color to color. So I'm always getting a color, even in my grays, or have a little bit of temperature to them. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and so you like while you were smudging those colors, did you add those to like your swatch collection, saying like, oh, I can
You
definitely
could.
do color later on?
Yeah, you could absolutely do that on like that particular illustration. You're going, okay, that's a color I should keep, and add it to your swatch library, or your little folder. I want to get into that a little bit more later. I'm glad you reminded me of that. Yeah, and develop like a little color palette that you're using for that particular painting. The main thing you want to do when you're painting, I don't care if it's digital, whatever, one of the main things you want to do is don't use a million colors. And it's easy to do in the computer because it's not like, in my bag, I've got, I don't know, nine colors. That's it. That's all I got, right? So I can't go and grab all these weird colors that completely disharmony up my whole painting. Okay, because if I all of a sudden go with some weird green or something in there because I pulled it out of a tube or whatever, it doesn't harmonize the other colors. And the less color you have, the easier it's going to be for you to harmonize your paintings. Because if you're mixing like that, you're kind of creating what happens on your palette, which is you start getting all these pools of color that start to harmonize with each other, and then you have these pools of color where you're just nudging them. Like you're like, oh, I mixed that kind of greeny, bluey color for the background. I'm going to put a little more yellow in there and darken a little bit as it comes forward. But I already have sort of stuff kind of mixing where I'm just adding and pushing and nudging. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that does.
So, limited palette. If you're going to do it, I don't want to get too far into this, but you might want to look at the Zorn palette, which is 4 colors. But I'd argue that like that can be really confusing when you're first starting, because I had to do that when I was first starting. I'm like, how in the hell am I supposed to make a painting out of 4 colors? You know what I mean? Like I didn't have the color knowledge to do that. I managed to do it, but I feel like you need a little bit of color knowledge, and then you can go and try a Zorn palette or a very limited palette. And
Okay.
it's a good exercise because you learn right off the bat, like, okay, I'm using black as a blue, because if I add white to, I think it's ivory black or Mars black, they go blue. I'm using vermilion, I'm using yellow ochre, and I'm using white. Okay, that's your 4 colors. And then you got to try and mix everything out of those 4 colors. So that was the Zorn palette. He painted with that all the time. Although I'd argue, I think he added colors to it from what I've seen, but who knows? Okay.
Yeah, definitely sounds like less is more in this case.
Yeah, and part of it's just training your eyes to be more sensitive. Obviously, I mean, it's the same thing with everything. You want to train your eye to be more sophisticated about shape, language, and design, but you also want to train your eye about color, where you're going, because I can look at things I did, 100 years ago, and they're probably just screaming saturated, just horrible. I'm sure they're terrible, because I just, you're not understanding how to mix color. At least I wasn't understanding how to mix color right, and you're using too many colors. I found my bag of acrylics from college like a couple of years ago or something, and I've got like 50 colors in there. It's insane. Of all these acrylics, and it's like, no wonder my paintings look like crap, I didn't need all these colors. But then you got to sort of, develop a palette for yourself that you're, and then every now and then change up your palette so you're trying new things. So every now and then I might change up my cobalt to a cerulean, or, I got a new burnt sienna, because I always suspected the burnt sienna was probably not, the color you buy now is probably not what burnt sienna was supposed to be, and it's true, it wasn't. Now we suspected it was a little warmer and a little more orangey, and it was. So I found a brand that sells that kind of more original color, right? Because I want a little more color in it, as opposed to a neutral, even though it's sort of a neutral. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm real sensitive to it. I mean, I think anybody who paints is, okay? And then get into all that color theory stuff where you're talking about all your color relationships in relationship to the wheel and all these different things. And then you can take that as an approach to like an illustration, or even when you go somewhere and you go, this has got this whole thing, hang on. This whole scene here is sort of a quadratic-y sort of thing. So I'm going to kind of start there, and that'll just unify your colors to 4 colors or whatever. And you can start adding into it. But you got a nice lockdown color scheme in there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm looking at the chat. Hang on.
Okay, cool. I was going to let you know Noah put a good paragraph in there for you.
Yeah, what happened with the YouTube video, I don't know what happened. I loaded it, and then all of a sudden when I came back to double check it a couple hours later, it was like it failed to load. So I just had to reload it. So what I do is I reload it. This time I want to make sure it loaded. So I didn't update the link until it was uploaded. Then I updated the link.
Did you see Noah's comment to you directly?
Uh-uh.
He said that he's going to get you a copy. He just had finals. He's got a new pad. Okay, cool.
Hey, Mike, I hate to do the same thing, but it's literally the same story for me this week. This is the last week for all the other classes I have besides this one.
Okay, here's the thing. I don't mind that in this context because I'm not saying it's due. I'm telling you I want to see work in progress, so I'm fine with that, but I need to see something tomorrow, right?
Absolutely, yeah. That's why I know you understand delegation of time too.
By the way, I want to say I think you guys are actually managing your time well, because if those are finals and stuff like that, obviously, if I'm just asking you to do work in progress, your finals are more important, right?
That's exactly what I meant. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's totally fine.
Good. And then
today, I've said this before, the only time I get pissed off about this is when I go, "Hey, how come you didn't do this?" And I go, "Oh, I got a lot of work in Franz's class or something." I'm like, I don't care about Franz's class one iota. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Or anybody else's.
Yeah.
But in this case, you're scheduling your time the right way, so I can't complain.
Absolutely. And then today after class, if you have a little bit of time, I'd like to talk to you about some of the classes taken next semester and Frank and all that.
Okay, good. Okay, so let's go. Okay, the color wheel, you guys, that's not a cheesy thing. Color wheel is a really great tool. And I mean, it's a great tool. It's something that takes a lot of complexity and turns it into something that's very easy to understand. It's just a great tool. What do they cost? Like $5?
For some reason, people think it's like a kindergarten tool, and then you just dispose of it. I'm like, no, man, it's cool.
I can kind of get that, because kind of if you don't know any better, it probably looks like something that would live in the crafts section or something.
Yeah, exactly.
But there's a reason why that hasn't changed a lot, and it's because it's a really distilled down, succinct, simple way to start explaining color theory, and color theory and all that stuff, I mean, it's like anything else. Like once you go into it, it's complicated, but really what's complicated about like learning those theories and everything, it's when you're first learning, I guess it's kind of complicated, but where it gets complicated is when you start looking at a scene in front of you, and I always use live because I like to use live, but, and you're looking at things and you're going, like I used to use burnt umber on my palette, everything was dead. And then I'd go, oh, tree, brown, okay, yeah, throw brown in there. And it's like, dude, that's not, that tree is, not, it can be defined as brown, but it's a little orange, or it's up here, they're totally purple. I probably said that before. The trees up here are purple. And if I ask the average person, hang on. If I ask the average person what color that tree is, they'll just say brown. You know what I mean? And it's like, no. You need to look at if it's, and then you're going to look at things. If you go out and paint from life, you're going to see things in front of you where you're just like, I don't know what the hell color that is. You know what I mean? And you got to figure these things out, and you got to separate them based on temperature and color, or temperature and value, and all that kind of stuff, and then you'll just find all these colors that sort of fall between the cracks, and then you've got to start learning, okay, I don't know what color that is, so that probably means it's a gray. Okay, so now I've defined that it's a gray. Now I got to go, what temperature is it? Is it warm or cool? Okay, now I go, okay, it's kind of leaning cool. Okay, is it a little purpley? Is it a little bluish? Is it, what is it leaning? Is it getting a lot of bounce light because there's a lot of green in this environment, and the light's bouncing green into things? All that stuff is what you got to look at, because that's what makes all this stuff sing, when you understand those little Like, ooh, I can bounce some color in here and bounce some light in there and really sparkle this up, you know, that kind of thing. Okay, does that make sense? And I don't want to get too far down the rabbit hole in that, because then everybody's going to go, you're not teaching color theory, and they're right. Okay, but I think in relation to this class, because we're talking about Photoshop for digital artists, we do have to have some conversation around some of this other stuff. Otherwise, I'm just showing you if I just showed you tools, I go, here's a smudge brush, and I don't give you some examples of how to use it, you'll go, okay, it's a smudge brush. So what? You know what I mean? Oh, I want to blend everything together, I'm going to use a smudge brush. No. You can talk about, you know, edges with that, you know, and that starts to give you a context for that Photoshop tool. So that's part of the reason I do that also, is to try and give you context for the different tools, not just throw them at you and you go, okay, I don't know. All right, you know, I don't know what to do with that, okay? So it's trying to give everything context, okay? All right, any other questions? Elan, you usually have questions.
I was just gonna ask about what do you think of my work in progress so far?
Okay, did you do the gradient tool on the small ones?
Yeah, I did.
Well, that's a cool idea. What did you think?
It really did help at least get a grasp of where I want to go and then build upon that briefly.
To me, that's it. I mean, with thumbnails or whatever, little color counts, I just want to figure out ideas. You know what I mean?
Oh, Mike, you cut off. Sorry.
Am I back?
Yeah, you're back.
With the thumbnails, I just want to figure out general ideas, like, ooh, that, you know, that works, and then I can start going, you know.
Yeah,
I'm not
that's
trying to
why I
do
did
a
it.
big finished thing or whatever. I'm just trying to get it to. Okay. Yeah. All right. Yeah, get a color wheel. That's a cheap investment. Okay. Let's share this. So here's where you're starting at. Well, let's go to these first.
Yeah.
Were we supposed to do thumbs first?
No.
No. I was
like,
oh, crap.
No. I was just trying to figure out a color scheme of what I wanted, and then I just pretty much figured out different scenarios and just like, what happens if I have a warm light source, or if I do a dusk sunset instead, and I just wanted to plan it out. So.
And also, I think it's good to get the thumbnails. Like we talked about this with I put up a video on somebody who did theirs. Just throwing a gradient pass at it, you know, a gradient mapping pass at it. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, you were just in and out for a little bit.
I don't know what's going on because I've restarted the router twice today, and I restarted my computer twice today. So, and then some days it doesn't do this at all. I don't get it. Anyway, you use the gradient mapping tool, and you can see the value of like getting, you know, playing around with that, right?
Yes, it was really helpful. I'm definitely going to utilize that more.
So are you going with this warmy, feels like late afternoon, early morning, something like that?
Yeah, or it could be viewed as just, maybe more like early morning. I thought it looks more like a sunset, but yeah, I guess
it could be either or.
Maybe. Yeah, either or, yeah.
For some reason to me, sunrise always feels cooler. I mean, it's warm, but it feels cooler for some reason. I don't know if that's just a temperature thing, because when you're outside in the morning, it's just cooler. It's probably just in my head.
Yeah, I was thinking of adding more cools to the rocks for sure, to at least, because I feel like the whole sky was more warm. So I kind of wanted to distinguish, maybe add more cools to the shadows of the rocks.
Yeah, that's probably where it started. Probably try and find some contrasting shadow value.
Yeah.
So there's, you know, the old warm light.
That's
cool
my next step,
shadow.
pretty much.
And you glaze it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So you're. I really don't like this new way they did this new. Whatever you call it. You know, and I probably have to gray this down a little bit.
Those swatch palettes.
Well, I don't get why they put it into all these folders. It's like, and then they're all like, I don't know. I don't get why they did that. But what I bet around it now though is I just put my own together and just go, okay, I'm using this.
Hmm.
It's like, who the hell's using screaming red, screaming blue, screaming yellow, all the time,
Right.
Like there should be some subtlety there. And there used to be a better, anyway. I'm sure I can probably pull it back up like the print palette or something. But I try not to fight the changes on things and just go, all right, that's what you guys did, screw it, and I got to deal with it. Because if you fight it, then you become one of those people that's like still using Photoshop 2.5 or something.
What do you think would be a better like colors to default to for the application?
Well, I think to have a variety of color where you're, you have some, not just everything hyper saturated, almost primary colors, right? That makes sense? Am I cutting out?
Yeah. But like if you could pick the 3 colors, what would you?
If what now? Say it again.
Yeah, you're getting in and out, Mike.
How about now?
You're
If it keeps doing it, I'm going to jump out and jump back in. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, if it keeps doing that, I'll jump out and jump back in. So if all of a sudden I jump out, I'll be right back, okay?
Sounds
All
good.
right.
Anyway, that's probably a little too blue. The reason I might go a little over is I'm going to smudge some of this out, which is going to kind of dissipate it a little bit.
Yeah.
And plus I can also just go here and go, okay, I'm going to desaturate it a little, saturate it more, whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
All I'm trying to do here, and maybe even see if something works better, like that's, right there's a little nicer. And I'm just kind of dipping, you're kind of gingerly walking into the water, trying to kind of get something going, right?
Dipping your toe in.
Yeah, that's all you're doing, right?
Yeah.
But just look it already makes a difference knocking that little bit of blue in there, right? You there?
Yeah, it does. Yes.
So like if you go, and then
Yeah.
so
Can
one
you
of the things that I had to play around with on mine, because let me see if I have a recent version of it. One of the things I had to do here is I had to make sure that I came in here and cut this blue around a lot of these shapes in here, right?
Yeah.
Because there was some warmth back here. Let me turn off. I can't. There was some warmth, a lot of warmth back here, and I still could go back and knock that down a little bit. So I wanted everything surrounding this ship to be bluish because the ship is so warmish. So it's just a simple way to separate the two things. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So I just want to go in and make sure I'm separating things. So that's just a simple way of doing it. Just going warm, cool, boom, right?
Yeah, pretty
I want to
much.
keep
Yep.
the ship fairly silhouette-y. I don't want to get all detaily about it. I want to keep everything fairly just painterly and simple, but readable, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, then, I go, I should put a little structure right there. I don't like that these two shapes are repeating, blah, blah, blah. But, yeah, this is interesting, like this pinkish light. And it's interesting. It'd be interesting to go, what exactly do the shadows do in this? Because I've seen this kind of lighting just a few times, and I saw it a couple of years ago driving up here. You guys hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Sounds like I'm cutting out.
Yep.
Yeah, just
You guys can hear me, right?
Yep.
yeah, just a little bit.
Let me go through this, and if it still is cutting out, I'm going to jump back in. I've seen this kind of weird amber light one time driving back home up here, right? And it would have been interesting to go, and I usually do this, it would have been interesting to go, what are the shadows doing right now? It was really weird light like that. It was like pinkish, amberish light, just everywhere for a little while as I was coming up the mountain. Everything just looked like a sepia, like a pinkish sepia painting. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yes.
It'd be interesting to look at, like, what does the shadows do in that? Because it was really weird light. I don't know what was causing it. But it really stood out. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, I'm going to try that. I always drive over the Grapevine in the morning.
Yeah.
And it's insane, but I never think about, like, just pulling over and drawing it. But that would definitely be
I go out. I used to go out to the
Good
Grapevine quite a
exercise.
bit to paint. You know, because the light, man. If you sit
It's
on the
crazy.
other,
You ever
so
see those purple hills? You ever see those purple
the Grapevine Hills?
hills on the side?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I've gone out to that area and painted a lot. You know, one of the things you got to figure out too is like with this kind of, well, you got blue up here, you know, so, and then water does interesting things. I won't go too into it because you got to kind of play with it. You know, I might get some of this knocked in just to start separating things and knowing where my sections are. Does that make sense?
Yeah, since the sky technically I made it like a darker blue since I'm going for either a sunset or sunrise concept. Would the water be lighter, right, to reflect the light of the sky?
There's a whole bunch of different things that can happen. Like if you look at water, okay, if you look at, it can depend on how you're looking at it. From this case, we're kind of, we're up here, but when, okay, so our angles, here's the water, right?
Yeah.
If you ever notice, if you stand on a deck or like a dock or something, right? And you look down the water, it's really clear and you can see all the way down if it's not super rough water, right?
Right.
But then if I back up and I'm looking at the water, here's the water again, and now instead of looking at this angle, I'm looking at this angle across it. I'm not going to see into it at all. I'm going to see the surface. Does that make sense? Yeah?
Yes.
So there's a whole bunch of things. And then a whole bunch of things happens with like water in general. Like the lake will kind of reflect the sky above it. Maybe it's because it's a, I don't know why exactly, but like it just seems like, and then a lot of times when I go to the beach, there's a lot of like really hyper teal blue, and these greens and aquas and all these stuff in the water. So it can kind of have its own life regardless of the reflection from the sky too, right?
Yeah, that's true.
And then at night it might get, you know, it's going to get affected a little bit by light and reflectivity and all that kind of stuff. So you want to start getting in there and you know, use a certain amount of logic, but then sort of also sometimes you'll go, I'm going to throw, for whatever reason, accident or something, you go, I'm going to throw a little of this in there and you're, oh man, that works, you know? And then
Yeah, that's true.
in my brain, I always want to know why it works. I usually reverse engineer it and go, why does that work? Because that's a weird color, you know, and then I kind of figure it out. But, and then there's just a lot of things in my head, just like I just said, where it's like, you know, this water does a lot of interesting things, regardless of what it's reflecting in the sky. It's a good place to start. But, you know, but when I'm looking at it, like at the beach, man, that water tends to go, as you're looking at it, even if it's a really blue sky, a lot of times it goes really slate blue gray, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and then, you know, and then I'm just going to come up and start dancing around here. The thing I love about this technique, though, is just how fast it starts looking like a painting. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
You know, like this little, I probably changed this a little bit to a different temperature, the sail, just to get it to separate a little bit. And I don't know what that would be. Too greenish, but I don't know. Who knows, you know? Maybe I'll go a little.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll go a little warmer here, but a little lighter. I probably want to get like a pale, maybe this color. And I might have to go up another layer and get a little more opaque here.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to cover up everything I have underneath if I
Yeah,
like.
I'm pretty much.
Go ahead.
I'm pretty much just going over like the glazing stage, just getting the initial color down, and I'm slowly gonna start separating.
The good thing about it too, doing this technique to me, I don't know. For me, it's a good way to start understanding painting a little bit. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because you're still going, okay, we're going to go opaque. And then the idea of fat over lean, where highest highlights are thickest paint, you know, all that stuff transfers back and forth. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's a who knows how 500-year-old technique, but it works. You know, that's why it's been around 500 years. It's Drew Struzan's technique. It's like all these different people. They just do different versions of grisaille painting. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Or you can just go in. Sometimes I just go in and I just start painting color, just like that Wachowski video, and I just start going in with color. You know what I mean? It just depends. If you have a lot of technique at your fingertips, you can kind of let your mood drive what technique you want to use, or the piece, or whatever, right?
Yeah, for sure.
But I just like this because I can really nail everything down, and then I can just go glaze color and go, boom, I'm into a painting. Man, I'm into a painting, you know? Because, again, it takes you a little longer to get there if you're just going shape to shape. At least it does for me, okay?
Yeah, for sure. But I feel like your traditional media class has definitely helped me a lot in terms of
I was just listening
with
to
complement colors
yesterday with Jason Seiler, and Jason Seiler does, I don't know if you know him, he does these really, you know, stylistically, it's not really my thing, but his technique is flawless. Hang on. And he does, and he started off traditionally, but he paints digitally now because the deadlines, there's just no way for him to do what he does.
Yeah.
Hang on, let's go to, I'm trying to find a good one. He does these hyper realistic but super pushed things, right?
Yeah, I've seen those before.
Well, let's go here. You know, this kind of stuff. And he's just painting, okay? Like, there's not a whole lot of tricks here with anything. He's just painting. He used to do this in acrylics and oils and stuff like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But now, you know, somebody turned him on this years ago, and he was just like, holy crap, I can hit my deadlines. Even, it's still deadlines are crazy, even with this tool, but, you know, it helps him hit his deadlines. And then he developed a technique that he didn't feel like he was compromising his painting style. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And I was, you know, he has a podcast, and it's a really good podcast. I don't particularly, he's really awkward, but I don't care. He gets really good people on there. And he seems like a nice enough guy. But they were talking, he was talking yesterday with Victor Waz, and he was talking about that. Jason Seiler was talking about that, going, I don't know how anybody goes into this digital painting and doesn't know how to paint. I don't get that. You know what I mean? And the other guy who's illustrating is another monster illustrator. He's like, he goes, I hardly see any, and that guy only works traditionally still. He goes, I don't see any, he goes, I see very little people who are doing interesting digital paintings. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, I look at him right away and I know that person doesn't know how to paint. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
And again, that just comes back down to your craft again, you know?
Mm-hmm. Right.
I mean, it's just craft. And then he'll do these more straight things, you know, and he gets Time, he gets Newsweek. I don't like these as much. He did a really cool one of the Pope. Anyway, if you look at him, he does a lot of really crazy stuff. He's really good. He's really good at what he does, okay? Really good draftsman, really good painter, all that stuff, okay? Now he just happens to be doing it that way. And I'll connect him if you guys want. Okay, so, and then what are we going to do up here in the front? Elan?
Yeah.
What are you going to do here in the front?
I'll probably, because I have the warmth on one side already, maybe add another cool or an opaque cool later on.
Okay. Like what I try to do is, and it's up to you what you do, I don't care. You know, I might go the opposite, put some blue being cast around there. I can get some, this would be a pretty wet environment. I can get some cools up here on the surface of the rock.
Yeah, that works too, yeah.
That would probably reflect the sky a little more because you're going to get, you know, it's a wet environment. It's reflective a little bit, right? Not too much, a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, okay. So I think you know where you're going.
Cool. Awesome. Thanks,
I
Mike.
don't know what you did up here, but there's something that looks real kind of oil painterly right here in those colors.
Oh, thank you. It's not. I was just still using the watercolor brushes actually.
Okay. Yeah,
I
that
think
works.
I did. Yeah.
Let's see.
I think those are your layers,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
ones you added.
Okay, yeah. Okay, good. Okay, good.
Thanks, Mike.
And don't be afraid, like, as you get further along in it, to paint, like, I start painting things out, paint new things in, and, you know, screwing around with it.
Okay, sure.
You know, the whole, again, the point here is get you comfortable, not just in Photoshop, just get you comfortable in decision-making, solutions, all that.
Yeah, for sure.
Where's Brandon? Brandon here? Every time I look for Brandon, I don't get a response.
He's on
Oh, no, he's right there.
the participants list, so I'm not sure.
Wait, did he have mic problems before or something? Somebody had mic problems. Let's see.
That was Noah, but I don't know if Brandon is also in that club.
Okay. We talked about it enough. That tells me you're not near your computer, more than likely. All right, where are you at? Ideco, am I saying that right? I always forget how to say that.
Ildico.
Say it again?
Ildico.
Ildico. Okay. Got it.
Yes.
Oh, it's IL. Okay.
Uh-huh. Yeah, it's not I.
Okay, so what do you think?
I mean, I like the colors. I don't know, maybe more shading in some areas where it's a little darker since it's the moon.
I would tone down, like, you've got a lot of scream and yellow in here and up here.
Uh-huh.
So what's this yellow here representing?
From that torch.
Oh, this is a torch right here?
Uh-huh.
I might, if for that, I might go in and make a flame stamp brush and bing, bing, and then just like I did it before, just sort of smudge them out and change the shape slightly. Because it'll give it more definition.
Uh-huh. A flame stamp brush.
Yeah, I would just do a flame stamp. I might have one here. Hang on.
Where do you get that from?
You make it.
You make it. Okay.
Hang on. Remember when we made stamp brushes? We did that Halloween-y looking thing?
Uh-huh.
I know I had one in here. So I was using it for something. Oh, I was using it for this, I think.
That was the same thing for the stamp brushes, but is it the same thing when you're making just a regular brush? Like, how do you come up with the shapes to make a regular brush?
For like a flame?
Yeah, do you just make that shape and then
You could do
the same thing we did?
You could do it either or, but I mean, when I just want to get it fast, there's a flame, whatever, unless I'm stylizing the hell out of it. This environment's semi-realistic. Hang on. I know I already made one of these, but let me see something.
Brandon's back, by the way.
Okay. Here. So, let me see. Maybe this will work. Let's see.
Hello.
It's too small. I knew I had some.
Oh, okay. I see what you're doing.
Yeah, so all I'm doing is, I don't know why these are all so small. It's weird. Because I just made one of these the other day. I think for this. Let me just find something real quick here. Let's just grab, I'm just going to grab, I don't care what shape it is, I'm just going to grab something. So let's go, let's say it's, Let's try this one. Let's try this one. That's kind of interesting. I'm going to try one that I normally would find because it's a little harder to do, and I think that's better. So let's take this one. This isn't a good flame, but let's see if this works. Oh, wait, here's a good one. Let's just say this is big enough. It's probably not. I'm going to pixel it. I'm going to screw this up, but that's fine. So I'd probably have to go invert, Command I. I'm going to go, I don't really think I need to do this, but I'm going to desaturate it. Then I'm going to go edit, define brush preset, flame. And then if I go, let's see how this works. I can start to get a flame, right?
Uh-huh.
That's not a good starter image that I started with. I have a couple of them that I usually use. I couldn't find the other day. Maybe I'll just go a little smaller with the brush inside of this, and then go to my hotter color. You know, and I can start to build a flame, right?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Or I can just do like we did before, where I just go in and I start making, you know, red, orange, yellow, and then I just kind of shape it out with a smudge brush or something, you know. So there's a bunch of different ways to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Just depends on how lazy I'm being, right?
Yeah.
And what I need, you know. Or I might go back to another thing that I have where I maybe painted something and make a brush out of something that I painted that I like and make a brush out of it and use that as a starting point. What you don't want to do, and it's fine, I usually have like, let's say if I'm going to do, if I have flame brushes, I'm going to do 1, 2, maybe 3. And that way I can pop them in and reshape them a little bit as they go around. What you don't want to do is have every flame be the exact same thing. So that's just obvious.
Sure. Right. Okay.
But I usually just go in and reshape them a little bit and add my little embers and all that kind of stuff into it. And that's fine. 15 minutes, you know?
Yeah.
So I would just up here, make this clear what's going on. Because right now this is feeling a little bit like a yellow lava flowing over the rocks, right?
Yeah. So it should be blended out and not so.
I would give it a reason for being. Right now there's like all this yellow in there and I'm not sure what it's telling me, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you're telling me it's reflective light from something else, and then that's going to be the hottest, that's your light source. So everything as it casts onto other things, it gets less and less intense, right?
Right. So it needs to be diffused.
And then look at the planes that are facing, you know, the flame, and that's what's going to catch a little bit of light. As it turns off or turns the corner, it's going to drop, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not going to go around a corner. The only way it's going to do that is if it bounces off something over here and then into the corner, and then it's really going to reduce in intensity and value and all that. Okay? And be careful with your hard and soft edges. Make sure they're not all soft.
You cut out a little bit a few
what's
times.
that?
I say you cut out a little bit a few times.
Like
But
what's
I
going
heard
on
you.
here? What's this red here?
What is that red? Just part of the rock? I just wanted different colors incorporated into it.
Okay, you're going to have to sort of like tone it down a little bit, because when you go that saturated, you're telling me it's something really saturated, right?
Right.
Now, those rocks can get a lot of warm tones in them, a lot of warm reds, a lot of, or brownish, reddy color. They can get greenish. They can get a little ochre. I mean, they can go all over the place, right? But what you got to do is sort of, and you want a little bit of color variation in there. Just, you know, at first it's kind of subtle. Unless you're telling me that's like some sort of plant or something, it probably wouldn't be that intense. right?
Mhm.
But they do get a lot of color in it, okay? And especially this environment. This environment's a pretty wet environment, so those rocks could be, you know, damp, and then they're going to really
Right.
get a little more, catch a little more color, okay? So then it becomes about defining, for me in my head, like, why is this going green over here? Why is this going red? You know,
Right.
sometimes it's just the environment. I mean, some of it has some algae on it, so it'll get a little greeny, and you know, some of it's just the top part sticks out, and it's, you know, stuff on that's gotten sun bleached. Sometimes there's bird crap all
Right.
over the top of a rock outcropping, so it goes whitish. You know, on and on.
Sure.
Sometimes there's seals that live on it, and they're doing whatever they're doing on it. You know, it's just all kinds of stuff that affects this stuff.
Yeah.
And then up here, I get what you're doing. Like,
It's too yellow. Yeah.
yeah, so tone it down a little bit, okay?
Diffuse it. Yeah.
Yeah, because you're gonna get. And by the way, don't be afraid. Like, if you go find a cloud formation photo or whatever, and go, that's kind of the effect I want, and go sample some of the colors off it.
Okay.
I mean, everybody does it at this point. Like, I don't think anybody who does this kind of stuff digitally or whatever is being some big purist about, well, I gotta mix all my own color. It's like, no, why? I mean,
Well, yeah,
you don't know what the hell
that's
you're
how.
doing.
Right.
Go ahead.
Yeah. No, that's how I would approach it. That's how I do artwork. Is I come up with my own, but it makes sense to pick colors from something.
Nobody invented the sky.
An image. Like I was watching the what?
Nobody invented the sky. You're not. You know what I mean?
Right.
You're just pulling from nature.
So I was watching the video of Rakowski,
Yeah.
the dragon, and I just saw that he picked a photo, and I didn't know that's what you guys, you know, what is done,
Uh-huh.
but that's because you like those colors, and then you can use that color scheme. So
What it really is just a starting point, because 90% of the time when you select those colors, you're not going to get exactly what you think you were going to get.
right,
And then you just it just gets you rolling a little faster. And then, I don't know, 20 minutes down the line, you're completely changing that a little bit, or you're really, or you're really pushing it, or you're going, it needs a little bit of warmth catch on this edge. It just gets you rolling faster. To me, it's like more of that. It's like priming the engine and just getting me going. Because when I'm first starting, you know, you're kind of going in and going, I got a blank canvas, basically. What the hell am I doing with this? You know, I got to get something going here from a color perspective.
yeah,
So, you know, and then you go, okay, what do brown rocks do at night? You know, they can go really blue, they can, you know, whatever, you know. Sometimes you can still see hints of brown in there, but it's very reduced in color and saturation and all that. And it's picking up, you know, it's basically picking up whatever the overall light is. So if it's a, you know, bluish kind of moonlit kind of night, you can cool them all down, you know, just stuff like that. Okay.
yeah,
Also, go back in and because I go through this where I'll soften things. So over here, you got to be careful because it's getting real airbrushy in here. So I might take a darker value here in a
on the ship.
yeah. I'm just using that as an example.
Uh-huh.
And just take my normal kind of everyday brush. Hang on. And I'd probably come in here and like define some of these back out a little bit. So it feels like there's some structure in here.
Uh-huh.
You know, I'm not going to do a lot of it. I might show a couple of boards, cracks or whatever. Here, I probably want to define. I tend to go and paint back into shapes over and over again and reshape things.
Uh-huh.
You know, and then I could go, okay, there's a bunch of light right here, so maybe I can hit some of that with some of that light.
Right.
And maybe actually it should probably be a little, you know, and then I might knock that back. I might go later on and go, well, that's just too much. So then I might go to my desaturate tool, just knock it down a little bit and go, okay, that's a little better, you know. You know, because it's this battle of not getting, you know, this light right here is probably going to cast something onto this railing maybe a little bit, you know, and I just want to make sure that's too much. I'm keeping things defined, but also that's the balance, you know, soft edges, hard edges, that's the whole game, right?
Yeah. Right.
You know, and then this stuff, you have to go in every now and then and re-establish it. You know, all this rigging and all that stuff. And part of the reason, you know, like this here where I put the the sales are a lighter value, you start thinking about it, and you go, well, they got them rolled up and all that.
Right.
That's basically a white surface that, however I light this down here, I can light that up pretty good. It's going to catch quite a bit of light. It's white.
Uh-huh.
And then I could just slightly warm it up so it's in that warm light, right?
Yeah.
So on and so forth, right? So it's this balance of, looking fairly defined. And when you close in on it and look at it, you're like, wow, there's nothing here. It's all sort of abstract. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
And that's the way I do it. And look, some of you guys might go, I want to paint super tight and all that kind of stuff. That's cool. That's your thing. But I would still start it like this more than likely. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
And I just keep working it, refining it, and until I get it, In the early days of this stuff, the thing I hated about it is everything looked either airbrushy or it looked really gradienty, And it was just a really ugly look to me. And I'm like, I want nothing to do with that. You know what I mean? That's just ugly,
Yeah.
And this, I think, was before Cintiqs. I don't know when Cintiqs came around, but this is back in like late 90s. You know what I mean? So 20 years ago or whatever that is. Okay.
How do they paint digitally then? I mean,
I think a lot of what they were doing was, I think they were using the gradient tool and things like that on drawings. Hang on. And you kind of go in and put color in.
you're cutting out.
Huh?
I said you cut out.
Am I good now?
Yeah.
I did it. I would go fill colors and then go in and, just do a lot of this.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
I don't know when Cintiqs came around, but I don't remember those. I don't remember anybody having them back then. And again, some guy, I've told the story many times, but I was doing everything traditionally. This is an Imagineering. And this guy came in, I walked in one day, and every now and then the outside people, freelancer, I was working in-house. The outside freelancers would bring something in for the art director to look at. So it'd be sitting on the rail or whatever. And I walked in, and it was this guy who was really good. I always liked his stuff. But I saw it from a distance. I go, man, that's cool. He brought in a new painting. I like to go look at it. And I got up close to it, and I go, holy crap, that's digital. You know what I mean?
Oh.
The first guy that I saw doing very painterly Photoshop painting. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, holy crap. The writing was on the wall with that for me. I'm like, oh, holy shit.
Mm-hmm.
You better learn how to do that, man, or you're going to get left in the dust. You know what I mean? And also, we both had a thing that we were showing the art director on a Friday, and the art director made a comment. They're always going to make comments, and he made comments on his. He ran across the street to the lab, came back 2 hours later, and he shows it to the art director. He goes, yeah, you're done. Made comments on my stuff, and I go, okay, cool, but mine was like an acrylic or whatever. And he goes, okay, change that. That meant I worked all weekend. He was done in 2 hours. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it was just like this. There's no contest.
Oh, okay.
And he was also from a traditional background, so he really knew painting and all that. So he was really good. I can't find him anymore because I can't remember his name.
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to see what he's doing now.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, thank you.
Let's go. Okay, John.
Yes, sir.
I think this is working pretty good. It looks like you're like going methodically and thinking about it.
I am. I get stuck at night sometimes because I want to make everything purple, but then it just looks flat. So
You've got to find your way to make, for one thing, for me, the ship, I go, they could have torches, they could have lanterns, all that's warm, right?
true.
So you got all this stuff in the back, because I whenever I do these demos, I do them enough to do the demo, and then I kind of dick around with them for a while just because I like to have something to screw around with. Or I'll try new tools on it or just wreck it or whatever, So, the front, this ship and this back here are separating really good.
I kind of tried to make the library the focus too.
Yeah, you could do that. I was kind of thinking like you're leading your eye foreground, middle ground, and then up to here. So it's sort of like, whoop. But yeah, you could make that it kind of is, but
Just by saturation and color, since it's so bright, I thought, you know what, if I give all those windows a nice warmth, you'll pull up there a little
Yeah.
more. That was my intent anyway.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is like, and you're already doing it. You got a little warmth here, and then all this cool here, because I just added some purple to mine yesterday, screwing around with it. Because what I do with these things is I throw them on my phone or whatever. I generate a JPEG and I throw it on my phone. And every now and then I'll pull something up and go, oh, those two shapes are repeating. Oh, you should have a little purple in there. I just like to look at it and screw around with it.
Yep.
I think, I mean, I don't have a lot of comments on it. It looks like it's going really good. So I would just say keep going. And I like the planet you did. And I also like that you put it behind the little meteor or whatever that is. It kind of highlighted it nicely. That makes sense?
I tried to frame the silhouette of that bird on the tip so it stood out, and then the comet,
Yeah.
or meteor or whatever.
Yeah, that's why I gave him, in mine, I gave this a little warm light so I could bounce some warm light onto him. So there's this, all this warm.
Yeah, I meant the one at the top of the boat. I put the moon right over that guy too, so it kind of.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
So then you get those nice little up top focal points too.
So I took this bird and flipped it around and put him up here.
Yeah, no, it was cool. I liked it, so I kind of framed him up.
No,
there.
that's great. Because actually, mine was getting lost.
Yeah, I think I darkened him a little too.
I like the rocks
just to make him pop.
Like I like the rocks a lot.
Okay, cool. Thanks. I tried to give him a little warmth without making him fight with the boat.
Yeah.
And then the bird, I did less of a glow than you did, but kind of thought maybe it was reflective warmth. So I painted a little bit of that gray red, like barely any red.
I don't know. I had more fun doing the bird than anything.
Yeah, he was cool. He's a nice little character.
Because it's one of those things you just go boom, 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 put a silhouette, boom, put a shape over it, boom, put a shape over it. Takes 5 minutes, and there it is, right?
Yeah, he was cool.
I love silhouettes for some reason. I think because they're pure shape. Okay, Sheena, I have one for you for a canyon. Why is that?
Yeah, and
Oh, go ahead.
a lot of stuff with silhouette. It's nice.
Yeah.
Yes.
Where's Sheena? Is Sheena here? Oh, there she is.
Yes, I'm here. Yeah.
How come I have a canyon? Is that an update?
Yeah, like
Oh, okay.
I guess like for the canyon and like going on to this assignment, I had like a lot of like overthinking with like, using colors, so I would like redo and start again.
That's fine.
So
Here's the thing with the overthinking.
yeah,
What's your major?
graphic design and photography.
Okay. Everybody overthinks.
Okay.
And then when you're new to this, because I'm throwing a bunch of stuff, I'm throwing a lot of stuff at you guys, okay? It's a lot of stuff to digest, okay? And I do not expect you guys to become monster painters in one term or understand all this color theory stuff. I have to talk about it in conjunction with the tools in order to give the tools context. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I'm not expecting everybody to I get it. Color theory and thinking about all this stuff is hard. I got it. You know what I mean? So don't think that I don't know that. I do. And this is an intro level class, basically. I mean, we're going into some pretty heavy duty stuff for an intro level class. Okay. And I'm aware of that. Okay. And I don't expect everybody to go, yeah, add some purple to this and do that. Because you're going like, why the hell is he adding purple to that? Right?
Mm-hmm.
Did I cut out?
A little bit, but I understood.
Okay. So let's look at this shit thing. I like the sky color in your canyon one. That's nice. Okay. Okay, it's not bad. What do you think?
I feel like I had problems trying to like separate the different kinds of browns. Like I don't know if I'm thinking too like logically about like the correct color to use.
I think like I do the same thing as what you're doing here where you're hitting the rocks with a bunch of brown. I kind of did that at the beginning too. Because I just go, they can go kind of brown. Because I can glaze over them and cool them off like we did with Elance, right?
Yeah, that's true. That's
So
true.
there's a lot of modification here. Also, you're working non-destructively because you're starting off on your own layer or whatever. Um, so you can take things out a little bit. You could shift the color completely later. I mean, there's a lot of things you can do. It's sort of a pretty malleable process, flexible process where you can keep changing it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I want you to kind of explore, just sort of go for it, right?
Okay.
Now, I like that you're thinking about it. That's good. The one thing I might warm up, I don't know. What's producing this light here on the crow's nest?
Oh, I guess I don't know too much about shapes. I just thought that looked like a lamp, so I put a light in there.
Could be. I don't care.
Okay.
Yeah. And then you got some warmth in the windows here.
Yeah.
Yeah, all that, starting to figure that out. What I was trying to do is sort of, cool everything out as it goes back, so it just gets, I could even make it a little misty, but then I think the library would get too lost, and it's really more about the library than anything.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with it. And I like this blue here. It feels very night, right?
Yeah.
The only thing I'd say is maybe, and I don't know, let's see. Sometimes you can get like those nice aquas in there. Come on. Put this on color.
I think I'm also starting to understand there's like an importance of like which layers go on top of what, because when I would like, let's say, do the library and I wouldn't get some area, I would realize because it's below like the mountain.
Yeah, and here's the thing. Start trying to manage your layers in a smart way, right? And the other reason for that is you're usually you're usually working in a pipeline. I don't care where you are in the hierarchy of anything.
Mm-hmm.
So I always try and think about like, I have to make this good for the next person I'm going to hand it off to in the pipeline.
Okay.
Because I'm making their job easier. And I think, and my thinking is like, if everybody thinks like that, the pipeline gets easier and everybody's job is easier. And also when they go, hey, we got to cut people, and they go to whoever, the art director, whoever, and they go, hey man, we're thinking about getting rid of Sheena. And they go, no, don't get rid of Sheena because she's like, everybody likes her. She gets her job done. She's really good. No, I'm not going to get rid of that person. Get rid of this person. They're lazy. Get rid of this person. They do sloppy work. You know what I mean? Yeah?
Yeah.
Translation, don't be an asshole, right? It's a small business. Whatever you go into in the arts or whatever, it's a small business. You want to get a reputation for people going, they're a pain in the ass. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So what you're saying is don't label all your files like a bunch of curse words?
Right. So see, this is now in glazing right now. If I started going, hey, I kind of like the tealy, a little bit of that hint of teal, and I don't know if I do or not, but I might go another layer over now and go, let's see what this looks like. And maybe I knock this brush down. Maybe I just get a little bit of that surface. Maybe. Just a hint of light there or something, right?
Yeah.
So I just let it sort of lead me around. I might just take this brown. Just see like, okay, is this going to work? Sort of got a little orangey tint to it. So again, I might just come up here and grab some of this blue. Start to cool some. I'm actually not just cooling this down, I'm neutralizing it. So then I start to get a little different. Start to break up my rocks a little bit. And then I'm, later, I wouldn't do this early on, but I might grab some of this bluish light out here. Maybe hit the tops of these rocks a little more with that and cool them down a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to knock it down a little bit. I don't want too much of it. Just enough to kind of cool them out a little bit. And see, now you're starting to see the little rock formations getting a little bit of light. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But these two rocks right here are basically the same shape, drives me totally crazy. I'm going to change it on that. But anyway, so just stuff like that, right? And then, you know, then what I'm doing is I'm creating my lighting everywhere. So if I go, let's try this. I'm going to push this up into like a pale. You know, then I can go, well, I want to light some stuff up over here. Oops. Let's see. If I like that. Let's see. You know, maybe I light these up a little more subtly, and then that gives me an excuse. If I put some light over here, you know, it doesn't all have to be warm. I could come in here and do, you know, some bluish light in some of these. There's no reason to say there's no blue in here. You know, and then if I have this warmth here, then I got an excuse to maybe pull it out here a little bit in front of it because it's reflected light. And then I'm going to take my smudge and like pull it out a little bit so it's not too much. You know, and then I'm starting to kind of light just up what I want to light up. Again, it's like stage lighting. I'm going, that's a little dark area over there, and I need to light it just a little bit. So there's a window there, and I'm going to spill just a little light on there, just enough to light it up. So I'm basically, in this environment, I'm building my own lighting. Plus I'm going, okay, I got a moon or something up there. I got an overall light that's casting on everything. But now I need to light up this or that, so I'll put a torch there or light or window or whatever. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah.
Just like you put this, you know, if you start putting a lot of more, you know, like if you have this warm light up here, and I'm screwing it up, you know, and it came down, I don't know if it was lit maybe here too, then I can light this pole a little bit from, you know, you're getting cast light casting down on it or up, right? Okay, does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. I think I'll go like play around with the tools a little bit more in the colors.
Yeah, right now it's a color thing. Just do your overlay color layer and just try things, okay? Because you can just get rid of it.
Okay, gotcha.
But the brown thing, like I'm using, this brown I just used is sort of a burnt sienna brown. And then I'm glazing it with blue. I do that a lot in the real world. I have burnt sienna on my palette and I have ultramarine blue, and I mix those a lot to get grays, okay? Those two colors, because I'm using burnt sienna as an orange. I'm not using it as a brown. Like I don't see a burnt sienna as a brown. I see it as an orange. But it's a neutralized orange. It's already neutral. So when I add it to a blue, those are complements anyway. But I've got this neutrally earthy tone. I'm throwing it into a ultramarine blue or whatever, a blue, and it knocks it down. It grays it down, turns it into a gray, basically, right?
Yeah.
So I'm doing the same thing. Instead of mixing them, I'm optically mixing them. I have that burnt sienna. Now I'm washing some stained glass over the top with some transparent blue over it, and then it starts to do the same thing where it neutralizes the color. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So instead of us just sitting here mixing color and pulling the color, we're doing it by glazing it, okay?
Is it kind of like layering the complementary colors? Is it kind of like layering complementary colors?
That's exactly what it is.
Okay.
So instead of, again, mixing them on the palette, I'm just putting a little burnt sienna, then I'm just glazing some blue over it. And what does that do? It's stained glass. So if I take yellow stained glass and then I put blue stained glass over it, what am I going to get? I'm going to get green, right?
Yeah.
It's the same thing. So glazing, just think of it like stained glass, basically. You're just layering colors on top of colors to affect new colors, right?
Yeah, gotcha.
And again, there's a lot of things you can do with all these tools in regards to photography and graphic design both, okay? So I want you hopefully to see the relation. I'm thinking, and I might have said this, the last thing we're going to do in here I think is going to be a free project because I want you guys to do something that you're excited about and that you want to try and do. And then we'll work, and try and get, work in classes like we do with everything else, but something that maybe is more connected to your major. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that definitely makes sense.
Okay, so I would start thinking about that now, you guys. Like if you guys are more advanced, John's been here a while. Elan knows something about paint. All of, whoever's got a little more advanced, or even if you're not advanced, whatever. I always think, like when I was in classes like this where the teacher's like, I'm going to give you a creative project where you can do something. I always want portfolio piece. You know what I mean? I'm going to try and get a portfolio piece. Does that make sense? I didn't cut out, did I?
Yeah, you did.
The whole thing? Elan?
Almost, yeah. Oh no.
Start thinking about a free project for the end of the term. I used to always think of them as portfolio pieces. If you're newer, you might just want to try and do something that's closer to your major. But if you've been here a while, like John and different people that are more, been around a while, I would think portfolio piece and go, I've been wanting to put something like this in my portfolio maybe, or whatever you guys want to do. But start thinking about it now. Don't wait until the end of the term. I'm telling you now so you can start thinking about it, right?
Okay, sounds
And
good.
also, you might have, you might have something. Sometimes you just have something really cool, or you have something you're like, man, I really like that idea, but I executed it poorly at the time, and I think I could do it a lot better now. It could be that, just whatever. But I want you to start thinking about it now. I don't want to go.
Got it.
I don't want to go sometime in August and go, okay, let's start thinking about this final project, and you guys go, I don't know what I'm gonna do. It's like I told you weeks ago, right? Okay. Is everybody hearing me?
Okay.
When does the online term end?
I think we're done. Hang on. I think the 20th of August,
Gotcha.
which I'm happy about because for some reason I thought it was the 8th, and I'm like, shit, I got all this stuff I want to do, and the 20th I think is reasonable. Because okay, so what we're gonna do is probably this week. I want to get through these, and then maybe tomorrow, maybe the day after. I don't know. It depends on where you guys are at with all this. I want to just go into probably one more brush tool and break that into 2 things, and we'll just play with that. I'm not going to do a big project with it. And then I'll be out of brushes for a while, and then I'm going to go into something completely different, hopefully by this week. Okay? Yeah? Okay. Tajin, where are you at?
I'm here, but honestly, I don't want to discuss mine because I did it completely wrong. So I just figured it out.
How'd you do it wrong?
I didn't do color replacement. I just literally placed the color on top.
But did you do it on a color overlay?
I don't think so.
Okay, so the whole thing is just do a color overlay. You know that now, right?
Yeah, I do.
Was this a gradient mapping thing, this picture?
Oh, this is
What's that?
just figuring. This is just the color replacement tool.
This is color replacement? Oh, that's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so you're understanding that, right?
Yes.
Okay, good. Did you try your gradient mapping thing? That's a mask, right? You understood that, obviously, right?
Yes. Well, I was doing the ship assignment, and it wasn't coming out the way it was in your video, and I was like, what the hell? So I just kept trying out different brushes, but then when you discuss other people's work in class, that's when I realized, like, oh, like that's what I was missing.
So this layer that you're putting color on should be color.
Mm-hmm.
And that'll just pick up the under painting, see?
Yeah.
Just paint on that color overlay. So right here,
Mm-hmm.
on your layer, it should be color overlay, right? And then you'll take layers where they're not color overlays, and you'll do different things. But that's our starting point. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Thank you.
That's how we're tinting, basically starting to tint the grayscale image. Okay. So you're not. I mean, you can just take this and then go. I don't know. Maybe I'm desaturate it a little bit. Maybe go here, go to a brownish. I mean, it's whatever you want. But if you turn that into a color overlay, then you're okay. Probably here, same thing, I'm guessing. Yeah, there you go. you know, and then you have to knock some of this down. But anyway, it starts on the color overlay. Okay.
Okay.
Work on that today, right?
Yeah. Thank you.
And by the way, you guys are all, I mean, not all of you, but a lot of you guys were new to Photoshop coming in here. It's a lot of shit to digest, okay? Coming into, you know, we're not just making birthday cards in here. Does that make sense? Because I hate that stuff. Okay, I think I went through everybody's thing. And I have 9 in here. I should probably have 13, I'm thinking. Hang on, I gotta take another screenshot. Okay. Yeah. And I will, there's going to be, I don't think I put the assignment up yet. I'll put an assignment up for the planet and the canyon. So don't freak out when you see that come up. It's already passed. I just got to grade it. I have to put it into my grade book to grade it. So I have to give it a date. So I'll give it that same take. Probably whatever day I grade it, I'll just give it that day's date. So don't worry about that. If you see planet/canyon, don't worry about that assignment. You already did it. Or you should have already done it. I think tomorrow I'm going to go over another tool. It's kind of an interesting tool. It's actually a really good tool. But if you don't kind of have somebody explain it to you, I think it's confusing. And again, that might just be me. I don't know. I always think everything's confusing. Hang on. I'm looking at chat. Yeah, I agree with John Cajun. I don't think you're doing bad. I mean, you just didn't get the color overlay thing. Big deal.
Yeah.
Look, there's a good time to, I think you should be conscientious about your work. And I think that usually translates into us beating ourselves up all the time. But I don't think there's a lot of value in doing that all the time. Does that make sense? Everybody? Yeah? Be conscientious, but don't beat the crap out of yourself all the time.
Okay.
Yeah. And one thing, you know, you guys could do, and you maybe already do, I mean, it seems obvious to me, but I generate, when I go, I don't know where to go with this anymore. I generate a JPEG off of it. And then I just throw that on my desktop. I reduce it to 72 DPI. I throw it in my, I throw it on my iPhone, my iPad, anything I'm going to be looking at. And then throughout the day, once in a while, I just pop it up and look at it. And it'll scream at me what's wrong with it. If I haven't sat there looking at it, even looking at it in a different environment, which I know sounds super weird, but if I'm sitting there at a restaurant, all of a sudden I look at it, I don't know why it looks different to me in the restaurant than it does at home, so on and so forth. And I'll start seeing really glaringly obvious stuff. And then I just go, okay, when I get home, I'm gonna do this. And it gets me excited to play with it. That's why I like to keep something going forever, because I just like to keep screwing with it. And I don't have a lot of time right now to do that. So if I have something I did for a demo, it gives me something to play with. Okay.
Hey,
Milan,
Mike.
hang on, you're cutting out.
I'm really confused. Oh, sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Hello? I'm really confused right now because I'm looking at, I see the general schedule, which it says August 20th is the last day of term. Well, when I'm looking at your class specifically under the summer schedule, the last day is July 29th.
July?
So yeah, I'm very confused right now. Like, I don't know if it's a printing error or if it's
the whole catalog is screwy.
Yeah, so I'm not sure.
So let me look into that, because I have that totally throws me. Okay.
Yeah.
July 29th.
Yeah, that's why I asked. Because it said the same thing for me.
Because when did we start? June what?
Yeah,
June 8th.
Like
June 8th.
Well, according to the catalog.
Okay, I got to look at that, because I went by what was on the schedule, And it's
Yeah,
got-
the actual important date listed on the website says August 20th. And if you look at the 29th of July, that's a Wednesday.
right. But also, I went by what was in the catalog. Because if you notice the
Well,
date,
Wednesday
yeah.
makes sense because we.
go ahead.
Like that.
I mean, I can take a screenshot of
No, I'll look at it. I'll figure it out.
what I
Um,
see
yeah,
on the
they-
catalog.
I mean, we're halfway through the month, so
Yeah.
or almost. I mean,
Often
Oh.
print things erroneous.
if I had to follow that, I probably could.
Yeah, that's
Because of that, but that doesn't make sense to me because I went by what was on the catalog. And if you look in the catalog, different classes have different dates. So like Frank started his later, and I think his goes longer. I started mine whenever I started mine. And it has and I don't know what's going on with this, but I've had this problem before where it's just super confusing. It's like, wait a minute, when's the actual end of our class? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it really either one is fine, but just like a confirmation on which one.
No, I need to find that out because I got to know.
Yeah.
Because it matters to me because I got to cover X amount of stuff. So I got to make sure I'm covering everything I want to cover. Right?
Absolutely.
But I
Yeah.
have, okay, so I have this brush thing I want to do this week. I might get to the next phase of what we're doing. And then I know I have at least one more thing for sure that I have to cover. Okay? Because that's something for Frank's class. And I want to make sure that you guys know that in case you're going to his class. But I'll look into that. I'll find out. That's super weird. What was I going to say? All right. Any other questions? Everybody's okay? Everybody knows what they're doing?
yeah, so far.
Okay, so I just want to see these. I want to try and get these more or less start getting them wrapped up tomorrow. You know, I'm still in class looking at them and all that stuff. So I'm really actually trying to wrap them up by Wednesday. And I might start, go over a new tool tomorrow. Hang on. I might start a new tool tomorrow. I probably will because I got to get you. You could actually use it on this project, so it might be good for me to show it to you now. So push these as far as you can by tomorrow is about it, right?
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah?
Yep.
Okay, usual drill. I'll put everything up. I'll get everything edited, throw it back up. I'll throw up Jason Seiler's work up there. And you know what? I'll put Tommy. Have I put Tommy Kim up there yet? You guys?
You showed his Instagram on there, I believe, and it's amazing. I love how he videotapes his process. So
Straight
the
up.
gouache, right?
Yeah, squash.
Yeah, that
You
looks
could do the same
amazing.
thing with. You could do the same thing with oil. You could do the same thing with acrylic. You could do the same thing with a bunch of stuff. So, but the way it affects his digital stuff, that I think is really important. Hang on.
Oh, you're cut off.
Am I still?
No, no.
Am I good now?
Yeah.
Hang on.
Oh,
No. Like these. These are like his digital stuff. Am I still sharing my screen? Hang on.
no, you haven't. I haven't seen his digital stuff. Oh, wow. That's nice.
So his digital stuff looks, and he gets really nice. How do I go back to the whatever? How do I go back to the other? No. I never use this site, so I'm kind of screwy with it. Hang on. You know, it's just blocking. Hey, how do I get back to just his view? Oh, right here, probably.
Maybe just highlight his name. Yeah.
Oh, look, he's
There
got
you
it
go.
right there.
Oh, that's nice.
He has these ones I just think are so, like, look at the light in this thing. You know?
Yeah, that's awesome.
You get this really cool dappled light like this. See that?
Yeah,
Little brush
that's
with it.
nice.
But, you know, you can really see, you know, how he's really keeping color in these things. I mean, those are awesome. And I love this one. Look at this one. Isn't that cool?
That's nice.
And look at the
Really like
corrugate
that
up here. It looks like a corrugate tin, but he's bottom lighting it. And then it goes super cool, but it's got like an orange underpainting, right? So, I mean, this guy
Yeah.
pulling total traditional stuff. That's it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
In his digital paintings.
That's crazy.
Right?
But, I mean, it's shape painting, man. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Same thing.
Yes, definitely.
Same thing we're
He
doing.
knows how to paint, so yeah.
But again, I know I'm a broken record on the traditional stuff and all that, but I just think it's a tool that you gotta use if you want to really understand things. You know what I mean? And I know there's people who would argue with me about that, but I just think in general. And yes, I know there's some people who are exceptions to the rule, but you don't want, you know, don't count on being the exception to the rule. You know what I mean? Make sure you get your foundations down really good. All right, you guys. I'll let you go, and I'll see you in the morning. Push these as far as you can. Yeah?
Yeah.
Mike, real quick question.
Uh-huh.
When you did the overlay of the lion thing, do we have to turn something in for that, or was that just
No.
understand it?
Just
Okay, cool. Okay, cool.
And
All right.
Mina, do you have a question?